Hello and welcome to the poem of the day. Because today is the first time that we're doing this, there'll be a little preamble before I read the poem. And today's poem will be relatively simple in its language. It's by William Carlos Williams. But every time I make a video like this, I will attempt to help you understand the poem that we're reading. One thing to think about, when I read a poem, personally, I usually do not understand the poem the first time through. And so if you find yourself reading a poem and you find yourself wondering, first of all, why was this written? What's the point? Or if you find yourself thinking, the language is difficult for me, I don't understand exactly what is happening in this line, don't be discouraged or think that this is unusual. This is normal as an experience of reading poetry. And reading poetry and understanding it is a skill that you have to develop. So the best way, especially with a short poem, you have an opportunity to read it multiple times. So I would recommend that you read it, think critically as you're reading it, try to understand it, but then you take a pause, read it again, or have it read to you as you will have today, as I will read you a poem. And you can usually return for a third reading. Good poems often reward repeat readings. Each time you get a little closer to it, you understand it from a new perspective, and then the little details come out and become more meaningful. Okay, so today's poem by William Carlos Williams is titled, "This is Just to Say." I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox, and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet and so cold. It's been said that William Carlos Williams is a modernist poet. You will probably discover very quickly he didn't make use of a lot of fancy language. He focused on clear, direct expression, using as few words as possible. This might be quite different from your expectation of many poems. It doesn't use a lot of rhyme. It doesn't use meter. This is known as free verse. And it just captures a moment, sometimes an image, and it leaves you, well, it may very well leave you thinking, why would we share such a poem? What is happening here? What does it mean? That's something you might have to puzzle out for yourself. The only thing I could say is, you should probably forgive this guy, right? I mean, a couple of plums in the icebox. Who could resist the temptation, right? As far as the specific vocabulary in this, the only thing that I expect might be a little inaccessible to some is the term icebox itself. Just consider it an old-fashioned term for a refrigerator. Early refrigerators actually were just a cabinet with a block of ice in it to keep things cold. And later, when electric refrigerators came along, some people continued to call them ice boxes. William Carlos Williams died in the 1960s, so he lived through the period in which there were electric refrigerators. But that's not really the point. Here we have a man tempted by plums, and he's taken them and he's eaten them, though they belong to someone else. A short apology from William Carlos Williams. This is just to say. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon.